just to give a brief agenda of the flow of today's webinar, we're going to do some intros with the panelists and OctoPerf team. We're going to talk a little bit about Inflectra and OctoPerf and what we do, just in case you're unfamiliar with our tools. And then we're going to go into the OctoPerf and Spira integration and finish with a live demo and Q&A. Before you meet the presenters, I'm also first going to hand it over to Jeff to give an intro as well.
Yeah, you didn't put me on there, Audrey. It's all good.
I know, we didn't make the cut.
I'm Jeff Smalls. I work here at OctoPerf. I head the growth department here at OctoPerf in the Americas.
Simon, you want to go next?
Yeah, left to right. Simon, I'm the CTO at Inflectra, and I head up our product team who leads on creating our products, which we're going to talk about today, as well as our integration, a key one of which is with OctoPerf.
And yeah, I'm Guillaume. I just noticed a typo in my name actually, but I read the slide beforehand, so it's my bad. No, it's my bad. I should have noticed it. Anyway, it's Guillaume, like William in English, and I'm in charge of support and all the technical aspects of at OctoPerf.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for you guys to join us today, and we're excited to see the demo as well. So before we get into that, I'm just going to go ahead and give a little bit of a background on Inflectra and who we are. So at Inflectra, we're really focused on helping organizations deliver quality software faster and with lower risk. And we kind of believe in the idea that you don't need a trade-off between speed, agility, and quality. And how do we do this? We have a lot of customers and potential customers in regulated industries and in that space, although we do span across all industries. And some of these organizations might require things like end-to-end traceability, fully integrated risk management, powerful security and data privacy, really all things high assurance. Yet at the same time, we also know that a lot of these organizations want to be flexible and agile, and be agile in their way of managing their processes and delivering their software using framework agnostic methods. And also offering full functionality for distributed and remote working teams, which I know a lot of companies these days face. So at Inflectra, we're really focused on bridging the gap between these two worlds with our platform of tools, which we're going to go a little bit more into depth about later. And of course, in consideration of building these tools, we want to make sure that we're encompassing all of the different types of personas, so testers, developers, managers, and really making it a seamless experience for all of them in one platform. Why do we care so much about quality? Why is it important for organizations? We truly think that by blending the modern and agile processes and also being able to support compliance in a single platform, it can give benefits such as 70% lower cost, 80% more coverage, and 30% more efficiency compared to using things like spreadsheets or a number of different tools that are disconnected. But we also know that for organizations who are already using a lot of tools, we provide seamless integrations and also migration tools just to really drive through that concept of quality and harmony. And of course, OctoPerf is one of our integrations. Now I'm going to pass it over to Simon to talk a little bit more about the tools in depth.
Thanks so much, Audrey. So here we have a slide that shows the collection of our products in a different way than Audrey showed before. In the top, we can see our main product tool is Spira. You can see Spira Plan, Team Test, Spira Apps, and Spira Capture. And this is the quality assurance and application lifecycle management platform for smaller teams as well as for enterprise level teams, all the way from doing test management requirements, management bug tracking, through to risk management, source code integration, and managing kind of scaled, agile, safe level at the Spira plan level. We have a number of different ways that we integrate. As we just said, 80 plus integrations, 35 plus migration tools. So a number of these blobs on this page relate to different technologies and suites of tools we provide to help customers bring that information together to get either data out of Spira, our platform, or into our platform. So that collectively, your set of tools can work harmoniously together. But so also, as much as we can provide you with that single source of truth and that single pane of glass to show you what's going on across your entire application stack and workload. The second key tool I want to flag is Rapise, the one just below. That's our desktop AI-powered test automation tool. You can use it for testing web, testing mobile, testing APIs, testing desktop applications as well. It, of course, does not do load testing, and that's why we have an integration with OctoPerf, but this does the automated UI testing. And it's got some great AI features that really speed up how quickly people familiar with automation can improve their tests, but also importantly, how people less familiar with automation, maybe more the manual testing background, can take their well-written and designed manual tests and with very little work, turn them into really high-functioning and fault-tolerant automated tests. Next slide, please, Audrey. And on the slide before I showed, there were 3 different buckets for Spira: Spira Test, Spira Team, Spira Plan. It's all the same product family. You buy one and you can change between one and the other. It's just the difference between Test and Plan is it has extra features turned on. Spira Test is our most basic tool, serves a lot of customers need. It's very popular. That has requirements management and test management and bug tracking. So if you're mainly concentrating on quality assurance for small products and small teams, that's perfect for you. If you want to level up and add in risk management, more programming tools, integrating with source code, more agile planning with boards and Kanban style boards, that's where you migrate up to Spira Team. And if you want everything as well as the flexibility to do more enterprise level planning and integration across complex programs of work, not just individual products, then that's where Spira Plan really shines. A lot of the features are similar across all of them, but as you move up through the line, you get extra features depending on your needs. Next slide, please. And all of this comes together in a load of key features and benefits. I'm not going to go into all the details here, but just to say again that the tools we have with Spira Apps, which is a marketplace for integrations in our application that can help speed up integrations. It can also speed up having to do very specific niche tasks for your industry. We have data syncs that let you sync seamlessly with Jira. So you're going to have your developers in Jira, your test managers in Spira. And all that together gives you this amazing single pane of glass where in Spira you can very easily have your workflows catered to deliver products to high quality and on time. And we use this ourselves every day. I use it all the time to see what's going on across my different teams, and being able to see what's happening in GitHub with pull requests, what's happening with the Jenkins builds, what's happening with GitLab pipelines, letting people integrate with things like AWS Bedrock to get AI, generative AI to help them with their solutions, just means collectively that means it saves me time, it gives me assurance, and it helps everyone on my team work smarter and faster by having everything integrated, which is one of the things I personally love and why I enjoy using our tools so much. Next slide. I think it's over to Jeff.
Awesome. Thanks, Simon. Yeah, and just like guys at Inflectra, we'd like to just give a quick brief overview of OctoPerf and our solution as well, and what we offer. So we are mainly just a performance testing tool. We can do some other stuff as well, but our bread and butter is in performance testing. So a little bit of why we exist and what we set out to do with OctoPerf. We essentially just wanted to bring performance engineers the best load testing experience possible, make it as easy and efficient as possible for anyone that needs to run performance or load testing. It's as simple as that, right? So a couple of key benefits you get by using our tool for performance and load testing. We have the ability to slash scripting time down by 80%. When you use our in-house scripting tool. It's very simple to use and makes it extremely fast when compared to open source solutions and other commercial solutions out on the market. Our analysis and reporting engine that you get with the tool makes it extremely fast and efficient to find performance issues and solve them in real time. And anything you do in the platform is easily downloadable, so there's no vendor lock-in at all. If you guys ever needed to leave OctoPerf and move on to another tool, you can just download your stuff and go. We don't keep you locked in with us. But at the same time, we consider ourselves the more cost-effective solution on the market, specifically to commercial tools that we compete with. we're roughly 2, 3, maybe even 4 times less expensive than what you see out there. And when it comes to people that want to just do open source solutions, yes, it's free to do, right? But if you use our solution, we feel that it actually, in most cases, will make it'll be still less expensive than doing that just based on time and efficiency value that you get there. So a little bit of how we do this to make it possible. Just a key features we have is, like I said, talked about our scripting tool that we have. It's a JMeter based scripting tool, all inside of OctoPerf. You can just easily record a HAR session, use that script then to do some automated correlations. There's search and replace functionality. You can even generate real test data inside of the platform itself. And that's just kind of scratching the surface. You'll see a little bit more of that when we get into the demos today. We also have a very flexible deployment option, so you can go full cloud, use our engines to spin up concurrent users as you like, or if you're a little bit more on the security-minded companies and don't want any data out there, we have a full on-prem solution. You take basically the cloud solution we have and just throw it on your environments, right? And in both these solutions, you can easily scale up to millions of views if you'd like. It just depends on the resources you want to utilize for that. Our analysis tool makes it very simple and easy to find, like I said before, any performance issues. So you can have real-time monitoring and analysis as the test is running. Customize your reports to find issues in the future and quickly and easily. We have trending data too to track your performance. Is it going up? Is it going down over time? Are the things you're doing actually mattering to the performance of the application you're testing? And we also have the ability to auto detect issues before you execute your test. That's a key feature that we have there. And lastly, we have great integrations, all the major CI/CD tools out there, APM tools, and much, much more, just kind of like what we have with Inflectra here. So excited to showcase a little bit more.
Yeah, so let me talk a bit about the integration between our two product suites. I mentioned this term earlier, Spira apps. This is an extensible platform that we've designed that lets us and our partners build out custom integrations or custom workflows that can bolt on to what Spira does already. So you can have dynamic workflows, you can change some of your processes, you can have certain automation flows, but you can also improve integrations. So we have integrations with GitHub. We sync data with GitHub, but you can also have a Spira app for GitHub that lets you automatically kick off a GitHub action straight from within our tool and then see the results of that action reported immediately back. We have an integration with AWS Bedrock. If you're an AWS customer, you can provide some details for your AWS account, and then you can use some of those Bedrock Gen AI features directly in our tool, no data leaving your AWS account. And of course, a very important one is for OctoPerf, which I'm going to talk about next. There's two parts to our integration with OctoPerf, and we'll see that in the demonstration. One is just getting the results of OctoPerf performance tests in our tool. But the other one lets you, like we can with other tools, you can click a button very easily. Someone who's not a performance engineer, they can initiate a test in OctoPerf. And that could be a 1-minute test or a 10-minute test. They don't need to know the details of that test. It's been pre-configured for them. And they can just click a single button in our tool on a particular test and execute that test. So a really neat and simple integration for the end user in Spira, but a really great way of having testers take more ownership of individual tests without needing to be experts in all the different areas of performance testing. And like I said, this is the integration with OctoPerf brings the tests, obviously they're in OctoPerf in a large amount of detail to review in full. Inside Spira, we'll see you get the summary of the result. Did it pass or fail? And then a link to view the detailed output and report in OctoPerf. But so that really streamlines the collaboration between your teams, between your performance engineers and the rest of your team and your managers. Again, you can see the results of all your tests inside Spira, both performance testing, manual testing, UI automation testing, unit tests and builds all in a single place. And obviously today we're going to focus on the performance testing piece. I'm going to talk you through our product Spira, show you the single pane of glass where all the information lives, drill down a little bit more into some of the different pieces and artifacts of it, show the integration with OctoPerf, and then see the results of that integration all inside our tool. So here I am on the dashboard for a product. Here I'm in just a made up product called Live Information System. And this is the one we integrate as the integration with OctoPerf built out for this demonstration today. You can have many different products and programs inside the system, and you can nest them however you want. We have a dog walking program, which was an internal demonstration, and I have one here, which is for today. And you can have a program of products and a portfolio of products. So you can have these multiple levels, so you can easily switch between projects and products or programs. Obviously, you can have permissions so that only relevant individuals have access to specific products and programs. So here we are back on the home page, the main dashboard for this program, and this is a single pane of glass. Here we can pick to see results for specific releases, and I've already chosen to look at this 1.0.1 release. And as I scroll down, I can see the activity of what's gone on recently. I can see we've got a couple of key risks here. We've got a critical risk, one of which we think is very likely to happen. If I click on this, I can drill down on it further. I can see more information on it here. And as I go further down, I can see things like, well, how many user stories do I have in my sprints coming up for this release, and how close am I to done? I'm 60% done for this release. And I look over onto this area here, and I can see that I've actually got 3 sprints in this release. 1 sprint has finished and everything's done. 1 sprint's in progress, and 1 sprint is in the future. And just by looking here, I can see that my sprint is 80% completed in terms of number of days, but only 33% completed in terms of the work done. How many user stories are completed? And that's why this is shown as this slight warning color to show that we're actually a bit behind schedule. And as I drill down, I can see what's the status of my individual requirements. How's my testing doing? And that's what we're going to drill down more into. So as I go from taking this overview to seeing, hey, we're a little bit off target, let's go and look at the requirements. So these are the user stories for this release 1.0.1. So we've got 3 different sprints. We finished sprint 1, and you can see these here are already completely finished. Where we can see they're finished, these green bars, which are the things that I look at every day when I'm looking inside our Spira for ourselves, is they show completely green. The first one shows testing is done. All the tests have been executed and passed. The second one, this task progress column, shows that all the individual development tasks making up these user stories have been completed. So if these are all green, you know you're in good shape. And then we have a status linked to workflows and various other transitions to help manage the progress of your user stories. So these are all done, and that's great. Those are all in the first sprint. Let me just focus on the second sprint. You can see I've just got 2 user stories here. One is completely finished, one is not finished. The tasks are all done, but the test is failing. So let's look more into that one here. This is that exact one. You can see the tests are failing here. It's a test to do something, it needs to be load tested, and I can put different information here. I can define components, which are product wide, and you can use them for different use cases. You have different releases. You can assign owners to things. Like I said, you can move your requirement, your user story through different stages of development. Here it's developed. It clearly isn't tested or completed because the tests are failing right here. So let's drill into why the tests are failing. Let me go to this test coverage tab, and we can see there's one test here and it's failing, unsurprisingly. So let's drill down into this test. Here's this test. I can see it failed. I can see information about it. This is part of the configuration that you have to do to have that integration with OctoPerf. You can see up here the OctoPerf button. I'll click that in a minute. And here you can see some information about the test. If I go to this tab, you can see the results of every time this test has been executed. This has only been executed once, and when it was executed, it failed. So let's see what happens. I've been told by, let's say in this example, the developer say, hey, I've magically fixed it, try it again. Okay, so I'm going to try it again by clicking this button. Behind the scenes, my application here is talking to OctoPerf. And by the magic of demos, here we go, thank you. It normally is much quicker than that. Of course, for demos, it's a bit slower. It successfully started the test scenario in OctoPerf. And let's take a little bit of time, so let me switch over to OctoPerf very briefly. This is the view I have in OctoPerf. There will be a running test right now that is underway. It takes a couple of minutes, so while that's happening, I'm going to show you something else in Spira, then we'll come back to hopefully see the results at the end. I said that our integration with OctoPerf is a Spira app. It's a way to enhance the functionality of Spira by improving the integration with third-party tools like OctoPerf or GitHub or AWS, or to add functionality, for instance, to add FMEA risk management if you're complying with FMEA, or to have improved widgets in different parts of our dashboards, or to make certain things quicker, to add automations for you. And we can do a range of different things here. The OctoPerf one is right here. It's very easy to configure. All you have to do is put in your OctoPerf URL and an API key, and a little bit of other setup to make sure here that we know exactly what test to run. So when we click this button, the right test is executed. While I'm still waiting for that performance test to finish up, one other thing I want to show you is the overall view of the test cases and the test situation. We looked at the requirements over here. This is the state of the requirements and what their tests are doing for this particular sprint. But this is all of the test cases in the entire product. And we see some have been run, some are passed, some are failing. And just like with requirements, I can drill down to see which tests were assigned to be executed as part of the sprint, and of those, which passed or failed. And we can see that if I drill down into the sprint here, we're on sprint 2. You can see that I have regression test, scenario tests, and I have load testing tests. If I drill in here, we have our test we're looking at before. And we can see now, so just as I was clicking on it, it's just updated and we have that failure test. So it just finished right now. So it's executed inside OctoPerf, reports back to our tool, so you can get that overview sense of, oh, now everything's failed. And if I want to drill down into it, I can see the key summary that we get from OctoPerf. It finished in a failed state, and I can open this full report here. I'm going to copy and paste that. And if I open that here, then we can drill down more into exactly what happened. I'll leave it to Guillaume to show us more of that. So from here, you can see the overview. And you can see for manual tests, for other tests, and particularly for OctoPerf, which is amazing. And then we can drill down into what's going on in OctoPerf. So that's, I'm going to stop the demo there and hand over to Guillaume for the OctoPerf part of the demo.
Oh, there we go. Yep, I'm exactly on the same report you just launched. So yes, indeed, we can have a look into it in a bit more detailed way. But what I propose is to take a step back, because yes, we will do that. But also, I'd like to show how you can also configure more things into OctoPerf, because you have shown the end result of running a test in OctoPerf very well, might I say. But I'd like to also show you how you get started with this test creation, preparation of the runtime, and then we can have a look at the result. So since it's more interesting to do it together, let's go ahead and log in. I log in my account here. We will just go for a brand new project. Why not? So I'll just go to what we call a workspace. It's basically a group of projects. And in this group of projects, I will create a new one. Just call it demo. Not very, I mean, it's the same name than all the others, but it's all that matters is that it's an empty project. There we have the HAR option that Jeff was talking about earlier. So the goal here is to import from any browser, any proxy tool that we have that you might be used to, that you might be using. But just to mention a few others, because you can import from an existing JMeter script. So if you've never heard of JMeter, it's a very popular open source tool. It's also possible to import API definition in the form of a Postman collection, or to go along with the tool that simulates the broader UI like Playwright. So it's just to say there are many, many options. Obviously, we can also do a manual creation with just listing the addresses we want to test. I'll go for the HAR because it's a very straightforward one with a lot of options. I won't like take it too far, but just to show you, you can use pretty much any modern web browser. In my case, I will use a Firefox that I have right there. The only thing I have to do is open the DevTools, and everything we'll do in the website will be recorded there. So, that's why I say it's pretty straightforward. I'll go to my demo website. We can see the traffic is recorded here. Let's zoom in a bit. Just want the display to be a bit easier to see. Now I'll do a very simple navigation on this website. We'll go ahead, do a login, add something to the cart, and that's pretty much all we need. So let's go for any product, doesn't really matter. As I said, we'll add it to the cart, and well, I can do the checkout. It doesn't really matter, but it will give us more traffic to import. So I'm going to save it. I am in France, so the time here is 5 p.m., 30 past 5 p.m., just to show it's the same one I will be importing. If I go to the next step, I will upload the HAR file we just generated, which is there we go. So yeah, that's the one, 5 p.m. We can see it's in the name here, so can be mistaken. Now importing it created a virtual user for me, which shouldn't be empty. Sorry, what did I do in Firefox? Oh, I think I know what I did in Firefox. I didn't do save all, so my bad. Yep. Yeah, I can notice from the name. I just saved an image, not the entire thing. So let's do that all over again. That's demo effect for you. Yeah. Anyway, let's roll back. Can delete this one. Let's confirm. Sure. Create a user. HAR. And if we go next, this time I will pick the one that is, yeah, the entire thing and not just an icon here. There we go. Import, and yeah, this time is okay. So the goal with this is to prepare it for a load test. And there's a couple of things you might want to do. Like, for instance, say, okay, the first page I interacted with is a pre-home page. Then I went to the home page. So, you can tidy things up, give proper names to every step so that it's easier to read in the report and you can analyze it. There's also a couple of other things we might want to do. In my case, when I did my navigation, I went very fast toward the end, so everything ended up in here. What I can do is insert new items, like a group of requests, and move things around. Like here, I can shift click and drag and drop this group of requests. I can even drag and drop this container back to the root level. So you see, here the goal is to show you, even though we are in a web browser, we have access to the same thing we would do in a tree inside an IDE or a heavy client. To work a bit on this, I'd like to demonstrate that we can also search for things inside this user. Like, I know this is a login I used. So if I search for the request that contain this value, it will highlight the login request, obviously. So it's always a good idea to just have a look at it, see what it's doing. So this is a request, which is a post request. It's going to this server address using this path. We don't have any query parameters, but we have headers. These are the recorded ones. Cookies will be overridden, so it doesn't really matter. We do have body parameters, meaning there's a post body. And in here, we can see our login and password. So to demonstrate a few possibilities, I'd like to use a list of login and passwords. So we'll go for a variable, a CSV variable, but we have a few others for other purposes. I will go for CSV, upload a file that I already have, this credentials.csv. Uploading the file opens a bunch of options, but mostly we can see the overview. Overview, which is using the first line as a header, where, well, in my case, it's not the case. It's not a header, so I will name the header manually, login and password. Now it's okay. I have created this variable. We can even see that a couple of those have a weird password, which is on purpose. These will fail during the test, so it's a bit more interesting to analyze thanks to this. Now we can go back to our virtual user from earlier. We could do the search again, but I know it was this login request, this request over there. And now the variable can be replaced using dollar brackets, which is a standard syntax from JMeter, the open source tool we use behind OctoPerf. I can pick my variable name like this, login, or I can use the autocomplete panel where I have a list of all variables and all functions we can use. Like I can copy paste my password variable, but we could use a function to generate a timestamp or to generate an offset upon a time. So, if we want to do advanced things, these functions are here as well for that. Now, before we move on to a real test, there's one thing I like to do, which is to show you we can debug this, because it's hard to tell if it will be working after what we've done. So what I just do is run it from Paris. It's not just because I'm French, it's because the pet store is hosted next to Paris. So it will be a bit faster, that's all. No French propaganda there. There's one setting I want to change. It's just the validation iteration. This means I will run this test 3 times. So I will run this entire user with only one user concurrently, but 3 times in a row. This should give us enough to analyze. So let's go ahead and do that. We have access to the logs while it's starting, but more interestingly, we will see the colored dots in the tree when it's finished so that we can analyze what's going on. And that's an important step because later on, when we run the load test, we will be overwhelmed by data. We will not be able to dive into the same level of details. So it's very fast. I mean, that's why I picked the Paris zone, because it's right next to the pet store. So it just takes a few seconds to go through the entire thing. We can see we have results that are not all okay. For instance, this one is red. Red tells us that it's 0 out of 3. So we can use a debug panel to see what's going on, in particular with the response. The one on the left is a recorded, so the HAR1 from our Firefox from earlier. And the one on the right is a validation. We have 1, 2, 3. The 3 of them fail because, well, basically this image doesn't exist. So it's not really a performance issue. I will disable it. It's an interesting point, but we can run the test without it. This one is a bit more interesting. If you remember, that's our login request. If we check it out, we can check not only the response, but also the request, where we see that cookies were handled automatically. We can also check the request body, where we see the login and password we use is from the dataset. So it was taken into account properly. In fact, we can even go to the list, see that the one that failed is number 3, and we can even see the password we used, which is one of the weird passwords. And even if we didn't know that, we can go and check this one over there where, well, we see that the one that failed has a 200 response code, which is different. So basically, that probably means something's wrong. And if we open it, yeah, we can see that's an invalid username or password. So I'll just copy that invalid username or password and use it as a custom control, which is one of the things we can do. There's a lot of advanced things we can do, but this one's interesting because it allows us to check what is inside the response. So we will check for this value. Obviously, we do not want the value to be in there, so we will do a negative control to control that we do not have this in the response. And now if we check the debug, we can evaluate if this will be working. So we can see it's working on the validation, 1, 2, but it doesn't work on the third one. I mean, as expected. Now there's a lot more we could be doing, but it would be probably too much for a demo. There's a lot of actions we can add in this tree to add conditions, loops, even blocks of code if we want to take it one step further. I'd like to give one final word on the design in OctoPerf. Well, first of all, I'll rename this user because, yeah, this name was too long. So let's go for something shorter like buyer. But also you can download it in JMeter format, which means you can always revert back to open source. I think it's an important statement regarding how the other vendors in this space usually keep scripts proprietary. Here it's open source. Anyway, moving on to the test, I will go to the scenario. So you might remember from what Simon was showing that the scenario is what he mentioned, what he used in Inflectra. So that's where we will create the scenario. And then we can use the scenario ID that we see right there to run the test from Inflectra. So we have a very basic scenario with one group of users. It's running from Paris. It remembers the last load generator I selected, but we will change that. It's very simple test with 0 to 10 users running concurrently for a few minutes. We could make that different if we wanted to, but You see, simple click or a drag and drop allows us to configure a point in the graph, an inflection point, and take it from there. Or I could go for this reshape where we pick the curve we want to have and the number of users we want to run. And well, let's go for like 50 users with a ramp up and down. So pretty standard standard thing, but it will be perfect for what we want to do. Now, I'd like to have another group of users, so we'll duplicate it. And to duplicate here, I will run it from a different location. So let's go ahead and select the another one. Let's pick one in the US, typically. Now we have one in Paris, one in the US. This way we run a test where we will have two very different groups that we can compare. Could be also different users, but I only have this buyer here, so I don't have much of a choice. But we could have others and run them concurrently. Launching the test here is what Inflectra did earlier. So if I do it manually, I will get to the same report screen, and that's where we will we'll get to the same place where we started this demo earlier, which is this report right there. If you remember, that's the one Simon ran. We could analyze this one. We can already see some graph and a couple of things, but I will take the one I just launched simply because it has two locations and it will allow us to do a comparison, which is a bit better. But as you can see, it's pretty much the same thing. Only you see when it's running, we have this test summary that shows us a progress bar of what's going on. We can see we have two regions. We can see basic statistics here of our test going on. But what's more interesting, I think, is this graph right there where we can see the statistic updating in real time. For now, it's discontinued lines, which means it's still being processed. It's not aggregated yet, or it's not in its final state. We will get there in a few minutes. But what we can do is click under the graph to edit it, which allows us to pick any metric from any and use filters on any location, for instance, to compare things. Like I can compare the Paris location here with the other one from California. So I can select California on this one. Now we have two response time arrayed, and these two will show very different values because obviously since the pet store is hosted in France, you can expect to have a lot more latency when running from the US. And if we close this view, we get back to the default where we can now see our two curves and we can see they are very different. So that's what's interesting about using the filters. We can dive into this and see what's going on. We also have a tree which shows us the structure of the user we've run and what's going on inside it. Good thing is we can also use this structure to dive into the various details, like here's the response time per request inside a given transaction. Or we could go and have a look at the error rate and see where it comes from. It comes from this one right there. So it's also an interesting thing to look at. In terms of errors, what can be interesting is to look at the list of them to see the details. For instance, here it's an error because it does contain the text that it was not supposed to contain. We can inspect it, which shows us the exact content of the request and the response. So, even while the test is running, we can see those errors and start analyzing what's going on. Anyway, there's a lot of other things in this report. I could talk about it for hours, but that's not really the point here, just to give you an overview. As a finishing note, I just want to mention, and I'll quickly stop the test to show you that, you can export it as a PDF. It contains pretty much everything we've done. It's configured with all the comparison we've done, like Paris versus California. It's also possible to run test comparisons inside the tool, and it's also possible to run trending if you run tests like every day, or if you do it for Inflectra on a regular basis. Maybe you want to go into OctoPerf and have a very detailed dashboard of these tests all together to compare them. It's also a possibility. And with that, I'm pretty much done for a quick tour.
Thank you both for that demonstration. It was kind of interesting to get a view of both sides of things.
Yeah, what I find very cool is we have used JMeter in the past. I know, Guillaume, you said you used JMeter under the hood a little bit. It's so complicated to set up and it's so prone to doing it wrong. And that's why it's great using a tool like OctoPerf because it makes it so much easier. I know it's still technical and complicated, but it's just, yeah, it's just such a pleasure to use compared to, like you said, some of the open source tools.
Thank you, Simon. That's really one of the things we try to do because, as you say, it can be very complex with JMeter. The thing I find the most complex is that you don't have anything. You have to create everything. You don't have default values. So, OctoPerf will always guide you through this by giving you something that is already pre-made, and that will at least do something so that you can build upon it. Yeah.
Issue is, I was always told, well, if you want to do load testing, you have to get a professional load tester on staff to do it because it's so complicated.
Yeah.
I think with OctoPerf, that's not required anymore as well. So you said it's cheaper than competitors, but I think also if you need to be a little bit technical, you don't need to be a professional load tester. That's a massive benefit too.
Sure. I mean, I'm a load tester, so I don't
Sure.
want my colleagues to think I'm trying to put them out of a job.
Okay.
I still think you need the methodology part of it.
Yeah.
Again, it's the same thing for Inflectra. I mean, the tool is great, it helps a lot, but you still need to have a human brain around it to make sense of what it's
Yes.
doing. So it's pretty much the same for OctoPerf. So I don't want people to
Okay.
only remember that we said you should fire all your testers.
No,
It's really not the point.
we could dabble more easily. If we're not experts, we can do something. I know if you're doing obviously complex stuff, you need that depth and expertise. But at least for us doing a little bit of load testing, we can dip our toe into it without being experts, which we could not do basically with Jamie.
Yes, exactly. It's a lever, it's a multiplier of your work. That's really how I like to see it.
Well, it looks like we don't have any questions, which must mean that you guys did an awesome job doing the demo. No questions. So I think on that note, I know we have about 10 minutes left, but in case you do have any follow-up questions that you think of later, you can absolutely reach out to either the OctoPerf or Inflectra team, and we'll be happy to walk you through it or provide another demo or anything. But I just wanted to thank you all again for taking the time to come today to today's webinar. And also thanks to the presenters today, Guillaume and Simon, and also Jeff as well for helping me organize this.
Thanks, Audrey. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, everyone.
Cheers, everyone.